The black market auction. The stars outside the ship looked cold and far away. Jack sat in the pilot's seat, his jaw tight, eyes focused. He didn't like this place. The black market space station was known for one thing: selling what should never be sold. He wasn't there for weapons or tech or spice, or he was looking for something else. Something he didn't want to admit, even to himself. As the ship landed with a soft thud, a robotic voice said, "Docking complete." Jack stood, grabbed his jacket, and checked the small pulse blaster at his side. Just in case. The corridors of the market were dark and dirty. Strange smells hung in the air. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around him, some with scales, others with glowing eyes. None of them looked friendly. Jax kept walking. He had been here once before, years ago during the war. It hadn't changed. A tall, bug-eyed creature with metal arms stopped him. "You lost, human." Jack showed a small card. "Invited." The alien hissed and stepped aside. Jax entered a large room with cages. His stomach turned. Inside the cages were living beings, creatures, hybrids, even children. Most of them were silent, defeated. He hated this place, but he had to find her. His contact had said, "A small one, silver eyes. You'll know her when you see her." Jax walked past cage after cage until he saw her. She sat quietly, legs crossed, hands on her lap. Her skin was pale, almost glowing. Her hair was silver white, her eyes even brighter. She looked no older than 10, maybe 12. But there was something strange in the way she held herself, calm, proud, but tired. Jack stopped. "Is she for sale?" he asked. The merchant, a fat lizard-like alien, laughed. "Too strange to keep. Won't eat. Won't talk. Yours for cheap." Jax looked at the girl. She didn't move. Didn't blink. He reached into his jacket and took out a small metal cube. "This is worth more than your last 10 sales. Take it and open the cage." The merchant stared at the cube, then grinned. "Done." The cage opened with a click. The girl didn't move. Jax knelt beside her. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said quietly. "You're free now." Slowly, she looked at him. Her voice was soft, so soft he almost didn't hear it. "Why?" she asked. "Because someone should have helped you a long time ago," Jax replied. She stood up and followed him without another word. They moved quickly. Jax kept one hand on his blaster. He felt eyes on him. The market didn't like when someone left with something valuable. As they reached his ship, alarms went off in the distance. Someone else wanted her, or maybe they were already too late. Jax pushed the girl inside and locked the door behind them. The ship lifted off fast. Stars became streaks as they jumped into hyperspace. In the silence of space, Jax finally spoke. "Do you have a name?" She looked at him for a long time. "I was once a princess," she whispered. Jax frowned. "A princess?" She nodded slowly. "Before they took me." Then she turned her face away and stared out the window. Jax didn't know what to say. This was no ordinary child. And whatever story she carried inside her, it had just begun. The escape and the silence. Jax had flown through dangerous space before. Enemy zones, asteroid fields, even war zones. But this time felt different. This time, he wasn't just running. He was protecting. The small alien girl sat quietly behind him. In the co-pilot seat, her silver eyes stared out into the blackness of space, emotionless. She hadn't moved, hadn't spoken, not since she whispered those strange words. "I was once a princess." Jax didn't know what to make of it. The black market was full of broken souls. Sometimes they said things just to survive, but something in her voice. It didn't sound like a lie. The ship's scanners beeped. "Damn," Jax muttered. "They're following." A red light blinked on the panel. 3 ships. No transponders. No signals. They were flying quiet, like hunters. "Hold on," he said, gripping the controls. He took the ship into a sharp dive through a nearby asteroid field. Jagged rocks passed by the windows, spinning in slow chaos. One mistake, and they'd be space dust. The girl didn't flinch. "You're not afraid?" he asked, glancing at her. She shook her head gently. Jax frowned. Most kids would be screaming right now. "I'm not most," she said softly. For a moment, Jax said nothing. Then the ship jolted. Blast fire hit the rear shields. The hunters had followed them in. Jax cursed under his breath and pulled the controls hard. "I hope you're still not scared, because this is going to get worse." He weaved the ship through narrow gaps in the rocks. The enemy ships kept firing, but the field was too tight. One of them clipped a stone and exploded in a flash of orange. "One down," Jax muttered. But two remained. "Can you fly faster?" the girl asked suddenly. Jax almost laughed. "Kid, if I fly any faster, we're going to crash into something." The girl stood up, walked to the back of the cockpit. Her fingers brushed a panel on the wall. It glowed faintly, just from her touch. "What did you just do?" Jax asked. The ship shuddered, then roared to life. Engines that hadn't worked in years suddenly sparked. Systems blinked green, and the boosters kicked harder than ever before. "What the? How did you do that?" Jax asked, turning to her. She looked at him calmly. "Your ship is old, but it speaks a language I remember." Jax stared at her. "You talked to the ship?" "Not with words," she replied. Outside, the remaining enemy ships were falling. Behind, Jax used the burst of speed to break out of the field and jump into hyperspace. Safe. For now. He leaned back, heart racing. "You're full of surprises." She didn't respond. Just went back to the co-pilot seat and sat down like nothing had happened. Jax stared at her. This girl wasn't normal. Not just royalty, something more. After a long silence, he finally asked, "What are you?" She looked at him, and for the first time he saw fear in her eyes. "They're going to find me again," she said quietly. "They always do." "Who?" Jax asked. "Who's chasing you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled up the sleeve of her dress and showed him her arm. Glowing marks covered her skin, thin lines of light running like circuits. Jax had never seen anything like it. "Those weren't there before," he said. "They wake up when I get closer to what I was." Jax didn't understand. "What were you? A queen's daughter?" "More than that," she whispered. "I was built for something, trained for something, before they shut it all down." Jax sat in silence. He had rescued her from a cage, but maybe she was never supposed to be in one. Maybe the cage had been built not to trap her, but to protect the galaxy from her. "What happens if they find you?" he asked. The girl closed her eyes. "Then they'll try to end it again, just like before." Jax felt a cold chill. "And what happens?" he said slowly. "If they don't find you, if you reach whatever it is you're meant to find." Her eyes opened, glowing softly now. "Then the stars will remember my name," she said, "and the ones who took everything from me will be afraid again." Jax leaned back, letting the silence fill the room. He didn't know where this was going, but he knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a rescue. This was a war he didn't understand yet, and he was already in the middle of it. The hidden royal blood space felt quiet again, but it was the kind of quiet that didn't last. Jax knew it. He had flown far, farther than most dared. His ship was now hidden in the shadow of a cold moon orbiting a dead planet. No signals, no light. Just darkness and time to think. But Jax couldn't stop staring at her. She sat in the ship's lounge, legs pulled up to her chest, silver eyes watching the stars. She hadn't said much since they escaped the hunters. Jax didn't push. He knew enough about trauma. He had seen enough children broken by war, but this girl, she was something different. Too calm, too still, like she had seen everything and survived it. Jax walked over, handing her a mug of warm protein tea. "Thank you," she said softly. "You've been quiet," Jax said. "Silence is safer," she replied. "Maybe," Jax said, sitting across from her. "But I think you're not just quiet. You're hiding something." She didn't deny it. Jax continued. "You said you were a princess. From where?" The girl looked at her hands. Glowing marks still faintly shimmered under her skin. My world was called Serenia, she said. It's gone now, turned to dust during the last solar war. Jax blinked. Serenia? That's a myth. A story soldiers used to tell at night. She nodded. Stories are all that's left of us. But that place was said to be advanced, powerful, peaceful. It was, she whispered. Before they came. Jax leaned forward. Who came? She looked him in the eye. Your people. The silence between them turned heavy. Jax had heard about humanity's first contacts, some peaceful, some violent. But he never thought, this. I'm sorry, he said. You didn't do it, she replied. But I remember the ships, the fire, the sky breaking. She paused. I remember hiding under the palace floor while my mother screamed. I remember my father telling me to run even though there was nowhere to go. Her voice shook slightly. I was supposed to die. But something saved me. Or maybe someone. Jax felt like he was listening to something holy, something ancient and tragic. But how did you end up in that cage? He asked. She shook her head. I don't remember everything. They took my memories. Someone locked them away. But lately, they're coming back. In pieces. Jax stood and walked to the control panel. He had to know the truth. He scanned her DNA using a military medkit, something he hadn't used in years. What are you doing? She asked. Just checking something. When the results came up, Jax stared in disbelief. Alien genome. 98% match with lost royal bloodline. Serenian origin confirmed. Genetic markers activated. Status royal heir. Classification key holder. Jax stepped back. You're not just royalty, he said. You're a key. She nodded slowly. I was born to unlock something. A weapon. A system. A legacy. I don't know yet, Jax whispered. And that's why they want you dead. Yes, she said. Because if I find it, the balance will change. Jax looked out the window. This wasn't a mission anymore. This was history reborn, and he was right in the center of it. We need help, he said. Someone who can find out what they erased from your mind. She looked unsure. Trust is dangerous. Jax smirked. So is flying blind. Hours later, they docked on a hidden station floating near a gas giant. An old friend of Jax lived there, a hacker named Kira, part human, part machine. Kira stared at the girl with wide cybernetic eyes. You brought me a ghost, she said. This girl's DNA was erased from every system decades ago. Can you get it back? Jax asked. Kira nodded slowly. Maybe. But if I do, the people hunting her will know where she is. The girl looked at Jax. It's your choice. I won't ask you to risk your life. Jax didn't blink. You didn't ask. I already chose. Kira placed a small neural crown on the girl's head and began unlocking her blocked memories. The girl screamed once, just once, and the lights flickered. When it was over, she looked at Jax with new eyes. Not a child's eyes, a queen's. I remember now, she said. Who betrayed us? Who destroyed Serenia, and why? Jax asked. Who? She whispered the name, and Jax froze. Because it was a name he knew, not alien, not ancient, a human general. Still alive, still in power, still hiding what he did. Jax's blood ran cold. Then it's time, she said, standing. Time to show the galaxy that the last princess of Serenia has returned. The bounty begins. The lights in the old space station flickered, humming with low power. Dust floated in the stale air, and the walls creaked like they were tired of holding secrets. Jax paced the floor, his pulse steady but sharp. Across the room, the girl, the last princess of Serenia, stood quietly, watching the galaxy spin outside the station window. Her silver hair shimmered like it remembered a throne, Kira, the half-machine hacker, tapped away on a worn console. "You really stirred the nest," she muttered. "Your DNA signature just hit the network." Jax looked over. "You said it was secure." Kira's metal fingers didn't stop. "I said maybe. I also said if they were looking, they'd find her." She turned and pointed to the screen. "They're looking." Jax walked over and saw what she meant. Red alerts, bounty listings, hundreds. The top one blinked. Target, unidentified Serenian royal reward, 12 million credits, status, extreme danger. Shoot on sight. Jax clenched his jaw. They just put a price on a child. Kira shrugged. To them, she's not a child. She's a threat. The girl spoke, her voice calm. They're right. Jax turned. You're not a threat. I am, she said. To them, to everything they built on lies. Suddenly, the station's alarms blared. Sharp. Urgent. Kira's console flashed red. They found us, she hissed. Small fleet dropping out of warp. Bounty ships. Jax ran to the cockpit window. Outside, 5 sleek hunter-class ships surrounded. The station like wolves around a wounded animal. They're jamming the comms, Kira said. No one's getting in or out. Jax looked at the girl. Can you still do that thing you did with my ship? Not here, she said. Too much tech interference. I need something older, simpler. Jax thought fast. The station's lower dock still had old escape pods, manual systems, no AI. Follow me, he said. We're not dying here. But before they could move, the wall exploded. Metal tore open and 3 bounty hunters entered through the smoke. Tall, armored, faceless. Jax pushed the girl behind him and drew his blaster. He fired twice. One shot hit a hunter in the neck. Sparks flew. The thing collapsed. The other 2 spread out. Kira ducked behind her desk and pulled a hidden pulse rifle. Get her to the dock, she yelled. Jax nodded, grabbed the girl's hand and ran. Blaster fire lit the hallway behind them. Pipes burst. Steam filled the air. They slid into the maintenance tunnel, crawling through cables and rust. Why are they so afraid of you? Jax asked as they moved. Because I remember now, she said breathless. I remember what they buried. What? The weapon, she said. It wasn't built to destroy. It was built to reveal. Reveal what? The truth. They dropped into the lower level. Red emergency lights blinked in rhythm with their footsteps. Jax spotted the escape pod, an old, ugly thing. But it worked. As they reached it, a shadow stepped in front of them, a bounty hunter, not armored, a man. Tall, clean-shaven, pale green cybernetic eyes. He smiled like a knife. Jax Arden, he said. I've heard about you. War hero, deserter, now babysitter. Jax raised his blaster. Step aside. Can't do that, the man said. You know what she is. I know what she's not, Jax replied. She's not yours. The man chuckled. She belongs to no one. But that's the problem. People like her. They bring back old ghosts, start revolutions. Maybe we need one, Jax said. Then he fired. But the man moved fast. Too fast. Cybernetic.Jax hit the floor. The girl screamed. The man reached for her and froze. The girl raised her hand. The glowing marks on her skin flared. Bright, white-blue. A pulse of light shot from her palm and hit the man in the chest. His cybernetics shorted. He collapsed, twitching. Smoke rising from his back. Jax stared at her, wide-eyed. What was that? He asked. She lowered her hand, breathing hard. A piece of who I was, coming back. Jax pulled her into the pod. The door slammed shut. Kira's voice came through the old speaker. Get out while you can. I'll cover you. Thank you, Jax said. Don't thank me yet, she replied. Just promise me she finishes what they started. Jax looked at the girl. Can you? She nodded. I have to. They erased my people. But the memory, it's still alive. In me. Jax hit the launch. The pod shot out of the station just as it exploded behind them. Flames chased them into space, but the pod held. Jax sat back, breathing hard. The girl looked at him. He was just the first, she said. Others will come. Stronger ones. Worse ones. Then we stay ahead, Jack said. Find the next clue. Before they do. She held out her arm. The glowing lines were shifting, forming a shape. Map, the weapon's not far, she said, but we're running out of time. Jax looked at the stars. War was coming, and she was the spark that would light it. The hidden weapon. The stars around them were silent again. Too silent. Jax stared at the ancient map glowing on the girl's arm, shifting lines of light forming a symbol he didn't recognize. A triangle inside a circle, then a spiral beneath it. Alien geometry, Serenian design. The kind of language lost when her planet was burned to ash. It's calling to me, she whispered, watching the light pulse on her skin. Like it knows I'm alive again. Jax checked the navigation. This sector hasn't been charted in decades. Too much radiation. No one goes there. Someone hid it there, she said. On purpose. Jax frowned. You mean the weapon? She shook her head. Not a weapon, not really. It's more like a lock, and I'm the only key. Jax knew they didn't have time to argue. Bounty hunters were already searching nearby systems. The galaxy was getting louder, and the storm hadn't even started yet. He turned the ship toward the dead zone in the map. Then let's go unlock it. The destination wasn't a planet, not anymore. It was a broken moon, ripped in half by ancient warfare. Jagged rocks floated in orbit like teeth. Something had torn this place apart long ago, and something had survived. Jax landed the ship near the largest shard of the moon. Massive doors were built into the rock, alien metal fused with stone. Rusted. Untouched. Waiting. This was a fortress, the girl said as they stepped out. Before it became a grave. The doors opened with a hiss the moment her hand touched the surface. No codes, no weapons, just recognition. Jax followed her into the darkness. Inside, the walls were smooth and cold. Serenian tech lined the hallway, machines that glowed softly when she walked by. It still remembers me, she said quietly. My blood, my voice. Jax stayed close. He didn't trust the silence. Places like this didn't stay hidden by accident. They entered a vast chamber. At the center was a pedestal. Above it floated a strange device. Circular, ancient, humming with low energy. Symbols moved across its surface like language alive. Jax couldn't tell if it was a computer, a bomb, or something worse. The girl stepped closer. The marks on her arms pulsed brighter. Jax raised a hand. Are you sure? No, she said. But I have to try. Her fingers touched the pedestal. The room exploded in light. Jax fell back, shielding his eyes. The device rose higher, spinning faster. Light flowed from the girl into it. Data, energy, memory. Then the chamber changed. Walls faded. And suddenly they weren't in the room anymore. They were in a memory. The past. Jack stood frozen. Around him, a city of towers stretched into a sky, filled with twin suns. Flying ships moved between shining buildings. Serenian people walked with calm grace. And at the center, a throne room. A queen stood tall, her hair like flowing metal, her voice strong, and next to her, the girl, younger, laughing, happy. This is who I was, her voice said beside him. Jax turned. She stood next to him now, watching her younger self from behind a veil of time. Before the war, before the betrayal. Suddenly the vision cracked. Alarms, fire. Soldiers in black armor, human armor, stormed the halls. The queen screamed. The child was taken. Jax watched in horror as one face stepped forward, the same one from the bounty station. General Kane, still young, still cold. He gave the order. Burn it all. Then the vision vanished. They were back in the chamber. The device floated silently above them. Jax breathed hard. What was that? Proof, she said. Of everything. Stored in the core. It saw it all. And now it remembers. Jax walked to the pedestal. So this isn't a weapon? She shook her head. It's a beacon, a recorder, a truth bomb. If we transmit it across the systems, the Empire will fall. Jax stared at the machine. And they know that? They always knew, she said. That's why they erased me. But they forgot something. What? Truth can't be erased, only buried. And I'm the one who came back to dig it up. Before Jax could speak again, a sharp noise echoed through the chamber. A voice. How touching. They turned. A tall figure stood in the doorway. Armored, masked, but Jax recognized the voice. General Kane. You always had a gift for drama, Kane said, stepping into the light. But I'm afraid the show ends here. He raised his weapon. Jax moved to shield the girl. She stepped forward. The glow on her skin surged, and the machine behind her came alive. Journey to the forbidden planet. The chamber trembled. Jax stood between the girl and General Kane, blaster drawn. The device above the pedestal, Serenian, ancient, alive, glowed with dangerous energy. Truth pulsed in the room like a heartbeat, ready to explode. But Kane didn't blink. You think a child in a dead world can bring down an empire? Kane asked, his voice cold as metal. No, the girl replied. But memory can. Then she raised her hand, and the device responded. A flash of light burst through the room, slamming into Kane and hurling him back. His armor sparked. His weapon shattered. Jax grabbed the girl's hand. We need to move. Now. They ran back through the glowing halls. Kane's body twitched behind them, stunned, not dead. They'd bought time, not victory. As the ship launched from the shattered moon, Jax watched the planet-sized ruins disappear behind them. And ahead, beyond the dead stars and broken maps, was the place she had once called home, the forbidden planet, Serenia, not marked on any chart, not visited by any ship. The war had erased it, or so they thought, but as they dropped out of warp, Jax saw it, a gray-blue sphere hanging in the void, scarred and silent. It's still here, he whispered. The girl didn't answer. Her silver eyes were locked on the surface. Jax touched her shoulder. You ready? No, she said softly, but I have to go anyway. They landed near the ruins of the capital. The once beautiful city was reduced to black stone and twisted metal. Towers lay broken. Streets cracked with time. Ash covered everything like the world had been frozen in grief. Jax stepped out first, blaster ready. No life, no movement. But the air, it felt thick, like the ghosts of the past still whispered through the dust. The girl walked ahead without fear. She moved through the ruins like someone walking through a dream, familiar but broken. My room was there, she said, pointing at a fallen spire. The throne room, over that ridge. Jax followed in silence. Every step felt heavier. They reached the base of an ancient hall, half buried in stone. She touched the wall, and it opened, splitting with a quiet hiss. Beneath the surface, untouched by fire or time, the last sanctuary of Serenia waited. Smooth halls, golden lights, walls covered in symbols and stories. Jax walked slowly behind, her eyes scanning everything. This place wasn't just royal. It was sacred. It was both, she said. The heart of our people. They reached a chamber with a high ceiling and a round platform in the middle. On it stood a mirror-like structure, tall and still glowing. What is that? Jax asked. A memory forge, she whispered. It holds the minds of those who came before me. Their thoughts. Their warnings. She stepped onto the platform. The forge pulsed. And then, it spoke. A soft voice, regal and kind. Daughter of the stars. We knew you would return. Jax took a step back. The voice wasn't real, not physical, but it filled the room like wind. The girl stood still. They built this for me. she said. If I survived. If I ever made it home. The forge shimmered and projected holograms into the air. Jax watched images of her parents, tall, proud, filled with hope. They spoke of peace, science, and a future shared with humanity. But then he saw the betrayal. General Kane shaking hands with the Serenian Council. Moments before the bombardment, the truth hit like fire. He was one of us, Jax whispered. He was sent as a peacekeeper. The girl's voice trembled. And he gave the order that destroyed us. The projection shifted. It showed a message, left by her mother. My daughter, if you see this, the galaxy will have forgotten us. But you must not forget who you are. Your power is not to destroy. It is to remind. Awaken the truth. And those brave enough to hear it will follow. The room dimmed. The forge went still. The girl turned to Jax. We can't run anymore, she said. We have to show them. All of them. Jax nodded. Then we need a signal big enough to reach the entire galaxy. The girl looked back at the forge. I know where to send it. Above Serenia, as they launched into orbit again, a signal burst. From their ship. Coded, pure, impossible to block. It carried the truth. The recordings. The faces of her people. The moment of betrayal. It spread across the systems. And for the first time in decades. The Empire began to shake. Ships paused. Leaders panicked. Rebel factions lit their flags again. The name Serenia returned to the stars. But in the dark, something stirred. Deep within the Empire's center, General Kane stood in a command tower, watching. The signal spread like wildfire. His eyes narrowed. She's more dangerous than we thought. His aide asked, should we activate the protocol? Kane smiled darkly. Yes. Bring in the purifier. The lost princess rises. The galaxy had changed overnight. Transmissions of the fallen world of Serenia. The betrayal and the voice of a forgotten queen now echoed across star systems like a storm of truth. Governments denied, rebels rallied, and hidden allies emerged from silence. But in the center of it all stood one girl, no longer a secret, no longer hiding. She had returned to finish what her people started, not with war, but with memory, and the strength of a future no one saw coming, but not everyone was ready to let her rise. Deep space. Jax's ship. One day later, Jax sat quietly in the cockpit, staring at the incoming alert. 3 Empire cruisers had dropped from warp behind them. Too fast, too quiet. They were already being hailed. They found us, he muttered. The girl, no longer the frightened child he met in a cage, stood beside him. Her posture had changed. She was calm, collected, regal. Let them speak, she said. Jax tapped the console. The hologram blinked on. General Kane, his cold eyes locked on the girl. So it's true, he said. You survived. And you lied, she replied. To everyone. I built peace, Kane said. Your world was a threat to balance. No, she said. We were a threat to your control. You're not strong enough to stand alone, he warned. Then I won't stand alone, she replied. Moments later, dozens of rebel ships appeared across the star map. From mining, colonies, smuggler fleets, forgotten outer systems. Ships flown by those who had heard her message and believed. The stars filled with flags that hadn't flown in years. The girl stepped forward and activated the forge core, now integrated with her ship's systems, a final message, not to Kane but to the people, projected across all networks. I am the daughter of a dead world, the last light of Serenia. But this is not about revenge, it's about truth, about choosing who you follow, and why. I remember what they destroyed, and I will not let them destroy it again. Her voice was calm, but her power was rising. Battle began. Empire ships opened fire. The rebels answered. In the chaos, Kane's warship descended, massive, armored like a monster from an old myth. Jax flew through the firefight, dodging debris and plasma beams. They're focusing on us. He shouted. Because they know what I carry, the girl said. And they fear it. Suddenly, a new ship dropped from hyperspace. The Purifier. A sleek black vessel designed to erase worlds. Jax's face went pale. They brought that? The girl didn't flinch. Let me go, she said. What? Jax asked. I have to face him. Alone. Jax shook his head. I didn't come all this way just to lose you now. You won't lose me, she said. You'll remember me. And with that, she stepped into the teleport chamber, linked directly to Kane's ship. Jax reached out, but the light took her, on Kane's bridge. She appeared in a flash of light, standing in silence as alarms blared and soldiers raised weapons. Kane stepped forward. You came to die. No, she said. I came to remind you. She raised her hand. The Forge's final memory ignited. Images of the Queen, of peace treaties torn, of Kane's betrayal filled the screens around them, so clear, so undeniable, even his officers hesitated. You built your empire on silence, she said, but now they see. Kane's face twisted with rage. He drew his weapon. But before he could fire, the ship shook violently. Jax's ship had rammed the side, forcing entry. Jax burst. In smoke behind him. You didn't think I was going to let you have all the fun, did you? Together they stood back to back as Kane charged. A final blast lit the room. Hours later, the battle ended. Kane's ship was taken. The Purifier disabled. Empire forces surrendered across multiple sectors. Rebels didn't cheer. They just watched. As the girl stood at the edge of the command deck, surrounded by stars, not in victory, but in memory, Jack stepped beside her. You did it, he said. We did it, she replied. He looked at her. What now? She stared at the galaxy. Now, she said softly, we rebuild. Epilogue. 1 year later, a new council formed, not of warlords or tyrants, but of survivors, builders, leaders. At its center sat the girl, no longer just royalty, now a symbol of what truth could do. Jax never liked politics. He disappeared into the stars, flying solo again. But sometimes when he